So how does Pinterest work exactly? Like where and how and when do your pins get distributed? What makes one pin get seen more than another pin? How do you capitalize on what's working and what's being put into your Pinterest audience's feeds? So today we're going to talk about pin distribution, how it works on Pinterest to better understand how to use it for your business. That's why we're all here, right? Oh, hey. Hey, I'm Tabby with Simple Pin Media, and we are here to help you find your perfect person on Pinterest. First, what is pin distribution? What does that mean? Pin distribution is the process of Pinterest pins being showcased to Pinterest audience who are searching for content. This includes all pin formats: static pins, idea pins, video pins, ads. So how does it work? Honestly, that's a super complicated answer. I am going to give you a very basic elementary answer because really that's all we need to know. Sure, having a good understanding of how pin distribution works on Pinterest is good. It's good to know these things. However, like I said in my last video last week, consistency is really what is going to give you a leg up on Pinterest. If you are being consistent with fresh content and you are pinning regularly and you are engaging with your audience on Pinterest, those are the things that are in the long run going to work for your business. So back to pin distribution. Pinterest takes different factors into account when deciding what pins to show to different people. Now, keep in mind that it's not some person or a little team behind a computer like all looking at your accounts and deciding who gets shown to who and how many times. It's not that personal, so don't take it personal. It's a bot, automatic. It's the Pinterest algorithm. The more engagement your pins get, the more Pinterest will show those pins to pinners in their searches or in their home feeds. This is how the Pinterest algorithm works. And your pins can get engagement at different phases of its life on the platform. Some pins can take off as soon as you publish them, within the first 24 or 48 hours. Other pins might not take off until days later, weeks later, even months later. And you know what? That is what we love about Pinterest. You can put all this work into this pin that you created months ago, and now all of a sudden it's paying off. It's not a one and done, first 24 hours, cross your fingers and hope it works. It's a long game, and you can keep reaping the harvest months and months later. So a question we get often is, what can I do to increase pin distribution? First and foremost, your goal is to get your pins in front of the right audience, because your pins could be distributed to hundreds of thousands of people, but it doesn't matter if that pin isn't something that they're interested in or want to know more about. They're not going to engage with that pin. So your goal is to get your pins in front of the right audience. So let's talk about some ways we can increase pin distribution when we are in front of the right audience. My first suggestion would be to look at top ranked searches you want to be ranked high for. So for example, if you want to show up in people's searches or feeds that have to do with camping or best camping tips, things like that, what you would do is go into Pinterest, search in your little search bar, best camping tips, and see what comes up at the top. Those pins are ranking high in search. Use that as your inspiration. Next tip would be to add a CTA. When your pins are being engaged with, meaning maybe they're being liked or they're being commented on, or they are clicking through the idea pin, or they are clicking through to your website on the static pin, whatever it may be, that's engagement. When you have more engagement on your pins, then Pinterest will pick that up and it gets distributed more and more. And when you add a CTA, you are helping your audience know what to do with that pin. Whatever you want them to do, tell them. Next tip would be to claim your website. Most business Pinterest accounts are going to have a claimed website, but occasionally we do run across people who are trying to market their business on Pinterest, but they have not claimed their website, and that is like basically step number one. If you are setting up your Pinterest account, the next thing you need to do is claim your website. And I will drop a link of how to do that down below. Because when you claim your website, Pinterest knows that you are a legit business. When you are a legit business on Pinterest, then they're going to distribute your pins. Now let's talk about the quality of your pins. Yes, they need to be good quality and they need to be eye-catching. If they aren't, then people are gonna scroll right on past them and they're not gonna be engaged with. And then if they're not engaged with, Pinterest is like, well, that one's boring. Not going to distribute that anymore. Nobody wants to see it. You know what I mean? Yeah, it makes sense, right? Yes, it does. If you are a one-man band and pin design is not your thing, I highly recommend sticking with some templates that you maybe purchase, or if you find some good free ones out there, there are plenty, go with those. Pin templates will give you a great starting point with having a consistent design to your pins and also looking professional and poppy. Don't forget being poppy. Next, this is a do not pin in such a way that makes you look like spam. Don't over pin like the same pin over and over again. Don't pin like 50 plus pins a day. It's just way too much. And sometimes you will get flagged. If you are pinning in such a manner, you will get flagged as spam, and then you definitely won't be distributed. Another tip to help in pin distribution would be to create content regularly. When you are creating new ideas, fresh content for your Pinterest audience, Pinterest likes that because then you are providing new, fresh ideas to the Pinterest users, and it keeps Pinterest users coming back to the platform. Now, you've heard me mention this before. You probably know that idea pins are the top prioritized pin format on Pinterest. This means that Pinterest is putting high priority on those idea pins, and they are getting distributed more frequently than static pins or video pins at the moment. So, create idea pins. Now, you are free to experiment. Do whatever you think would work best for your account, your content. But in general, I like to suggest that you diversify your pin formats and what you're pinning on Pinterest. So I would have a good mix of static pins, maybe some video pins if you have footage, and definitely idea pins. And make sure that whenever your audience is commenting on your pins or your idea pins, make sure you're commenting back. Engage with your audience. Because like I said, more engagement on your pins, the better your pin distribution. And as far as static pins go, make sure if you have content that is relevant to a holiday or a season, make sure you're pinning those 30 to 45 days before the actual holiday, because you might have some real big planners out there who are ready to start planning and implementing well before the holiday. So you want to make sure your content is out there and ready for them to search it. So those are some ideas for you for new stuff. Maybe you're new to Pinterest or you're creating new content, how to get all those new things out there and distributed. But there are also things you can do with the content you already have in Pinterest. Look in your analytics. See what pin formats are getting you more results. If idea pins are killing it for you, then definitely prioritize creating more idea pins. You can also look at the pins that are ranked higher consistently. Look at the design of that pin. Look at your CTA on that pin. If those pins are working and grabbing the attention of your audience, then you want to kind of go down that same path with other pins that you create. Also in analytics, you can look at your top performing boards and then pin more to those high-performing boards and create more content around those subjects. Okay, so a common question we get is, how long does it take to rank on Pinterest? How long will it take me to be successful on Pinterest? It's really going to depend on your content, what resonates with your Pinterest audience, how consistent you are being on the platform, the quality of your content. All of those things are a factor when it comes to how quickly you rank on Pinterest or how successful you are on Pinterest. But generally, we like to say anywhere from 3 to 9 months with consistent quality content on the platform before you start to see success. Do you have a question? Ask in the comments. I'm here all day, every single week to answer your questions. I would love to answer them. Drop them below. I'll be back next week with Idea Pin Creation 101. So see you next week.